Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action, and here in the desert, Sigvald is going to be leading the Warriors of Chaos up against the Lizardmen, myself versus Flying Taco once again, and would you look at what we've got here? It's Chaos versus Lizardmen, so let's quickly take a look at the builds here. I've got a shielded infantry force, mixed marauders with some chosen, and the Mirror Guard. We've also got the ugly weird spawn, Exalted Hero on foot, plus Sigvald with relatively cheap kits. Got the Marauder Horseman here, Chaos Metal Sorcerer on a Manticore, and yeah, 4 Marauder Horsemen, did I mention, and some Hounds out here in the periphery. For the Lizardmen, we've got Wild Dread Saurian, the Shredder of Lustria here, Salon Life, Feral Stegodon, and a Solar Engine. Some Pterodon Riders here, a whole line of Red Crests, and some Skinks out to the flanks. So, for me, I'm going to be using this Final Chance mutation on my Metal Sorcerer to go after these Pterodon Riders. Again, I say this constantly, but I constantly get new viewers, so I'll reiterate it. These quote-unquote good against single combatant type spells like Spirit Leech or Final Transmutation are also very good against cavalry and other similar low model type units like Pterodon Riders. You can see just that one cast came in and picked off a few models on and did a ton of HP damage, at least on some of these units, so that'll allow my javelins to be a lot more effective. Likewise, come in here, look at this Shredder of Lustria down to 40 armor, and when the weird spawn hit it, down to just 10 armor. So even with that shield of the old ones giving some damage resistance, these javelins are going to come in and do a ton of damage, just throwing basically very cost effectively, as if they were armor piercing more or less, because of those overlapping armor debuffs. The Salon Mage comes in, tries to get some healing. It looks like he's going to throw his Aura of Pretzels as well, but the Shredder's already taken a ton of damage. Likewise, the Pterodons try and come bog down my Marauder Horsemen in melee, but I'm just going to pull back, get some Javelin skirmishes in, and try and just kind of maintain my missile presence here as much as I can. The infantry fight's a little bit of a wash. The Marauders are definitely getting pounded by Red Crest, but the Chosen, of course, and the Mirror Guard will be a lot tougher opponents to take down. It's kind of a lot of give and take here, but certainly the Solar Engine's still online, able to fire in, get some good hits, get that nice stat debuff on these Mirror Guard here. And the weird spawn are very low. Thankfully, they're unbreakable, and even just one of them is enough to apply that armor debuff. So, was this a Bastiladon? Did I meant to say this was a Bastiladon? It's a Stegodon. Feral Stegodon, for sure. We'll come in close for the Dino Mash as poor Gary here, or it's George, right? George is the Solar Engine. Poor George here is getting beaten up by Sigvald and his mean friend. And so the Dread Saurian's going to come over and try and deal with them. The Slon's also trying to keep things healed, so we're going to go after the Slon himself with the Metal Sorcerer up on the Manticore. He can come in and do some pretty good damage here with the Hounds for support as well. Try and keep that Slon in, but the charge bonus, that Feral Stegodon comes in with its 76 charge bonus. The Dread Saurian also coming in. The Shredder of Lustria here comes to shred. I can't even speak, that's how amazing it is. Just comes in to absolutely shred my Metal Sorcerer, so I'm going to throw him back up in the air, try and get him nice and safe. We got potentially another Overcast Plague of Rust. That drop rocks you heard come in did quite a bit of damage to my units here, but I still have a handful of Chosen and Mirror Guard still fighting in this very pitched engagement. You can see Sigvald getting thrown around there, but very critically the Javelins are mostly still online here, and we are able to get Plague of Rust, I believe, here in just a second. That Aura of Pretzels says the armor debuff kicked in, but it looks like, yep, there it is, up to 130 armor, but even still, just that massive volume of fire, and this Metal Sorcerer kind of wavering in his leadership, but does manage to get off another Overcast Plague of Rust, and again, the Weird Spawn, this one Weird Spawn is enough to apply that armor debuff, and again, get down to, 20 to 40 armor, those Javelins just pouring in, and it is going to be enough to finish off the poor Shredder. The Skinks on the back go tumbling down, and the big boy falls. Of course, that's going to be a massive dagger in the balance of power on the Lizardmen side. They had been doing pretty well up until then. The Solar Engine's still fighting here. You can still see him firing in, trying to do some damage to the Marauder Horseman. But just this massive Marauder Horseman here trading very cost effectively because of that Lore of Metal synergy there with the Weird Spawn. And of course, if we have a look, Sigvald and his friend have taken a lot of damage, but considering how cheap they are, You know, the javelins are doing damage. These two are also getting hits in as well with their non-armor piercing weapon strength. Both pretty good weapon strength, 520 on Sigvald, and if we can get in on his friend here, this Exalted Hero has 461 with his Mark of Khorne active. So, yeah, pretty good stuff. Both of them can get in and get good hits in with the rust effects active, so definitely some good synergy there as well. And of course the shielded Chosen in the Mirror Guard, who continue to fight here alongside their chosen champions. Slaanesh will be very pleased, I'm sure, with this performance here. Drop Rocks comes in for the few tattered Pterodons that remain, but will it be enough? It does look like the Slann is going to give up the fight here, and that will lead to army losses. Out here in the periphery, Bastiladon's fighting some Marauder Horsemen, trying to chase it off the field with them. And I think that's pretty much it. Yep, there's army losses. And that'll lead to the end for the Lizardmen. So, a little bit of an unfortunate situation there for the old ones. Children of the old ones, I should say, but that's just how it goes. This Plague of Rust build, I've had good success with various variations of it over the years, using both Sigvald and Big Bird. Sigvald, a little bit of a safer pick, especially Sigvald with the Exalted Hero. They're surprisingly powerful as well. It's almost like a, not quite like a Gotrek and Felix type situation, but almost. And certainly with the Plague of Rust and the Weird Spawn, you can definitely make them punch way above their weight class, is quite nice. The Manticore itself is almost always going to be a cost-effective mount option for the Sorcerers and even the Exalted Heroes now as well, so having that option was quite nice. And as you guys know, you should know at least, I haven't actually probably made a video about this in a while, but basically you don't need halberds. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, but the Chosen with shields performing excellently here. 119 kills, 38 kills, both of them getting XP chevrons. Only 29 kills on the Mirror Guard, but they are also kind of standing in that monster mash. A couple of these Marauders got pretty decent numbers. The two that were out to the flanks, I think, that got a hold of the cohorts actually did pretty decently. This cohort probably had this chevron to begin with. Same thing with the Feral Stegodon here, although I'm not 100% on that. Feral Stegodon might have got some of those chevrons from doing damage to the Metal Sorcerer, and from, you know, doing damage to, like, these Chosen infantry. Certainly the Chosen, one of the units took a pounding. The other unit just still very healthy in the late game. The Mirror Guard also kind of took a pounding there, but I like Flying Taco's build quite a bit. I mean, obviously, if you're going with the Shredder of Lestria, you need some kind of sustain. Personally, I like having Mazdamundi alongside a Shredder a little bit more. Just because he's also a big distraction. I mean, he has a ton of HP, he has the trickle heal, and he also very critically has harmonic convergence, which I think is very important to have. Mostly even just for the melee defense debuff, but also the attack buff means that you'll get hits very consistently with that high weapon strength, and it's just so powerful on that powerful monster there. So personally, I prefer Mazdamundi. The Life Mage is one that I see pretty frequently, though, and it definitely kind of makes sense to try and get that healing on that big armored monster. But my idea here was just to throw out enough DPS that we could just straight up gun through it, or javelin through it, if you will. So a happy Javelin Day to Taco. I don't know if he knew it was Javelin Day. He didn't bring any Javelin skinks, so I don't think so. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about Chosen with shields here versus Chosen with halberds. So halberds are generally not good. There are only really two halberd units in the game that I think are actually good. One of them is Zombie Halberds, and the other one is Blackguard of Naggarond. And there are some other situations where you can make like Chosen Halberds or Phoenix Guard work. Empire Halberds are, I mean, again, most Halberds are just not great. Let's compare Chosen with shields with Chosen with halberds here. The main thing with about Chosen with shields is they actually have much better melee stats. 46 and 60 versus 36 and 54. And you might think, well, hang on, that bonus versus large surely applies on the attack, and it does. To large targets, and it is considerable, plus 26 bonus versus large, so obviously against large targets, the halberds have a lot more attack, but that melee defense difference is significant. 6 melee defense may not seem like a lot, but it is significant, especially when you're fighting big monsters which tend to have high melee attack. Likewise, The other thing to consider is the cost differential as well. So not only do you have, a better melee defense, so you're likely to stay in the fight for longer, you're also cheaper, so you can then allocate other resources elsewhere. And because Chaos has such good armor sundering abilities, this non-armor piercing weapon strength really becomes less of an issue when you factor in things like Plague of Rust, or like the Weird Spawn, and so on. Not to mention, in some matchups, certainly it's very applicable. It's somewhat applicable in the Lizardmen matchup, although not super applicable. But the Chosen do have a missile block chance of 60%, which is one of the highest in the game of any infantry. So, I mean, not only are they cheaper, but they're more survivable in many aspects as well, which just makes them generally more cost-effective, from what I've found. So that's kind of my 2 cents about shielded Chosen versus Chosen with halberds. You guys can find a bunch of replays on my channel if you go back and look, in past eons of similar type of replays. But I don't know, maybe I'll make a video soon and talk about the reason why there's only 2 good halberds in the game. But that's a topic for another day. I've already rambled on long enough in this one, so thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.